Good afternoon, parents and community members. Thank you for joining us for our afternoon version of Coffee with the Principals. Today is a really important afternoon session with us as we're going to be talking all about our plans to reopen. My name is Dr. Motsinger, and Dr. Dominugez, Dr. Sleiman, and I will be spending the afternoon with you presenting all of our plans to bring students back to school. So thank you for joining us. Just a couple items to keep in mind. If you have questions, you can go ahead and type them into the chat, and we will be answering all questions at the end of the session, but feel free to put your question in at any time as it comes up, and we will respond to questions at the very end. So again, thank you for being here this afternoon. Our agenda for our time together is going to cover a lot. So it will be a lot of talking, a lot of information. All of the information that we're going over is in the handbook that we sent last night. So you should have received an email last night. Every single thing we're going to talk about today is in that handbook. So in case you forget anything, you can reference all of it in the handbook in both English and in Spanish. All right, so the very first thing we're going to start with is a video.
Here at Feaster Charter School, we are prepared to open for hybrid learning. Classrooms have been set up with special equipment. This equipment includes sanitizing spray and dividers. We also have our desks organized so that they are a minimum of 6 feet apart, and capacity signs have been listed at the entrance and exit of each classroom. In each classroom, you will also see a full-size air purifier that has an option to ionize the air. These have been set up in all classrooms where students will be. In addition, teachers have been provided with special sanitizing stations that include hand sanitizer, wipes, and any other sanitation needs. We have created a specialized schedule for our TK through 8th grade students to follow so that multiple classrooms will not be in the same area at the same time. The schedule as shown will be followed by all students every day that they attend in-person learning. The INGRESS locations include the following: Jefferson Street, the front staff parking lot, as well as the front of the school. Each location has specific instructions for car drop-off, as well as walk-up stations where you will meet with a Feaster administrator who will guide your student through the check-in process, including a tech check. When students are dropped off for ingress at the front of the school in a vehicle, a staff member will first ask the parent a series of 3 questions, confirming the answers with a thumbs up. Students will exit the vehicle with their iPad, headphones, and a charger if their iPad is not already at 100%. Students will complete a touchless temperature check, get hand sanitizer, and then they will be escorted into the front of the school. Dr. Motsinger is demonstrating how the students will enter the front of the school to go to the tech check. It is at the tech check location where we will confirm that students are connected to Wi-Fi, that they have their school-issued iPad with them, that they have headphones, and that their battery is fully charged. Once the tech check is completed, students will be directed to their classrooms. When students arrive as a walk-up at the front of the school, they will first be asked a series of 3 questions. The parent will confirm with a thumbs up or deny with a thumbs down. The student will complete a temperature check and get their hand sanitizer. And then the student will be escorted onto campus to do their tech check. As you can see, Dr. Motsinger and Dr. Sleiman are modeling how students will be welcomed to complete their tech check before being escorted to their classrooms. The secondary ingress location is the Feaster front parking lot. Parents who are driving up will be asked a series of 3 questions. They will confirm with a thumbs up. Students will be able to exit the vehicle with their iPad and headphones with them. From there, they will complete their temperature check, get hand sanitizer, and then go complete a tech check where we will confirm that the student has Wi-Fi and enough battery to last them throughout the day before escorting them to their classrooms. When students walk up to the front parking lot, they will be greeted by a Feaster staff member. Parents will be asked to confirm the answers to 3 questions. Students will then do a temperature check, get their hand sanitizer, and then they will be escorted to complete a tech check, where we will confirm that the student has Wi-Fi connectivity, that they have enough battery to last them throughout the day, and that their iPad and headphones are with them. Starting at 7:45 a.m., Feaster Charter Middle School students can be dropped off at Jefferson Avenue. When parents drive up, they will be asked a series of 3 questions. Students will exit the vehicle with their iPad and headphones with them. Please make sure that the iPad is charged to 100%. Students will then complete a touchless temperature check, get hand sanitizer, and then they will stop at the tech check station, where we will confirm that the student's iPad is able to connect to Wi-Fi, that they have enough battery, and that they have their headphones with them. Once we have confirmed that the temperature is normal, students will be asked to make sure that they're connected to Wi-Fi, that they have their headphones, and that they have enough battery to last them the day. From here, the students will be escorted onto campus. When Feaster Charter Middle School students walk up on Jefferson Avenue, they will be asked to confirm 3 questions. They will then use the touchless sensor to complete a temperature check, get hand sanitizer, and a Feaster Charter staff member will welcome the students onto campus, where we can do a tech check. In the hallways and in the classrooms, our students will maintain a distance of 6 feet. Our desks have been set up so that they are all 6 feet apart. We have also equipped our classrooms with necessary PPE, hand sanitizer, and cleaning solutions. When students visit the in-classroom sink areas, we have reminders for them to wash their hands with soap and water. Students should practice singing happy birthday or the ABCs to themselves as they wash their hands, as a way to time their hand washing. The paper towel dispensers that we have in the classrooms are touchless systems, where the students can pull the paper without having to actually touch the paper towel holder. Students will be using the sinks in their classrooms to refill reusable water bottles. Students will not be using the drinking fountains. This is an added precaution to ensure that we are providing the safest environment possible for our learners. During snack time, students will maintain a distance of 6 feet apart. Masks will either be placed underneath the student's chin, or they may place their masks in their laps while they enjoy their snack time. Each bathroom on campus will have a maximum capacity of 3 students. Our custodians at Feaster Charter School have been trained to sanitize all surface areas. They use a very specific cleaning solution where they spray, wipe, and then finally they will spray again. This process is completed in any classroom and area where students or staff members at Feaster Charter have been. At Feaster Charter School, we have a staggered dismissal where grade levels will be dismissed at different times. We also have the same 3 INGRESS locations available for our egress or our dismissal schedule. Please take time to review the egress or dismissal schedule with your child so that you have a plan on where to pick up your child at their dismissal time. All TK through 1st grade students will need to be picked up by a parent or guardian. A Feaster staff member will guide all TK through 1st grade students to a specific location. Parents will be waiting next to a sign that says their teacher's name. Parents should remain 6 feet apart. Child will identify the parent or guardian. A Feaster staff member will confirm that they have seen this parent or guardian. The child will be dismissed to the parent or guardian to go home for the day. When arriving on campus to pick up a student in TK, Kinder, or 1st grade, please look for the name of your child's teacher. Please wait in front of that sign. Please remain at least 6 feet apart. Should you need to go to the front office for any reason, please ring the doorbell at the front office. Wait for Miss Melissa, Miss Marta, or Miss Marcella to greet you and provide assistance. Thank you for all that you do, Feaster families. We look forward to seeing you.
Okay, so that video gives an overview. What we're going to do now is we're going to talk through each of those components that you saw in the video and give a little bit more detail. So I see that there's already some questions coming, and if you put a question in there, just hold tight. We will respond to all questions at the end, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of them as we are presenting. Okay, so the model that we will be using at Feaster upon our return to school will be called a blended learning model. And what that means is that the classroom teacher will be teaching both in-person students and distance learning students simultaneously. And the most important reason why we have decided on a model of this nature is to keep students with their same teacher. So this model is a little bit different than what you might have heard of other schools doing in the Chula Vista Elementary School District. And again, I just want to reiterate that our model was really focused on making sure we did not have to change students' teachers for the last couple of months of school. Each teacher's classroom might look a little bit different. And so depending on the teacher and their schedule, what time they're with the distance learning students and what time they're with the in-person learning students may vary by classroom teacher, but in-person students will have a schedule that they follow, and so will distance learning students, and all of that will be provided to you. Okay, so this, the reopening plan, just so you have an idea, we sent this email out a couple weeks ago on March 16th. And I think we actually sent the email on March 17th. As soon as San Diego had moved into the red tier, we were cleared to be able to reopen in person. And so Feaster, again, as I mentioned, is doing a blended learning model where students can return to the classrooms, and some students will have the option to still remain online. It's really important that if you have not communicated yet with your child's teacher what option you would like, that you do so before tomorrow. We're really trying to get the rosters finalized as soon as possible. We have most of them, but if you have not let your child's teacher know, they will be contacting you, or please reach out to them to make sure that you have confirmation of whether your child will return in person or whether they will continue with distance learning. Okay, so when we return from spring break, there's going to be a 2-week transition that's going to look a little different than our normal schedule. That's really important to help us get ready for our return of students to school. So when we return from spring break, the week of April 5th, students will have asynchronous work on Monday, on Tuesday, and on Wednesday to allow for their teachers to have time to get the classrooms ready for students to come back. So students will still log on first thing in the morning at 8 o'clock, and their teacher will be there to provide them instructions on the work that they will complete the rest of the day. And then students will be released to complete that work independently. Classroom teachers are working to make sure that the work that they assign is work that can be done independently, that students would not need support from the teacher on. So that is on Monday, April 5th, Tuesday, April 6th, and Wednesday, April 7th. And so during that time, our staff will be preparing the classrooms and planning for the return of students. On Thursday, the teachers will be back to teach in distance learning. So that schedule will be the same as what they have had all year. And the same thing with Friday. Teachers will be back to teach in distance learning on Thursday and Friday, that first week back after spring break. The week of April 12th is the week we are going to start welcoming students back in person to school. And so we have a staggered reopening, staggered dates for welcoming kids back so that we are not overwhelmed by 600 or 700 students on the first day. We can get all their technology checked and get primarily our TK through second grade students welcomed back onto campus in what sometimes might be an unfamiliar situation for them, particularly our TK and kindergarten students. So on Monday, April 12th, we will welcome back all of our TK, first grade, and second grade students. Everybody in 3rd through 8th will continue with distance learning on Monday. On Tuesday, April 13th, in addition to our TK first and second, we will also welcome back our 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students to campus. And on Wednesday, April 14th, we will welcome back our TK through 6th grade students and also our middle school students, so that by Wednesday, all of our students have returned to school back in person. Okay, so in front of you, you see the same schedule that you just saw on the last slide. It's just in a little bit of a different format. So again, Monday, TK through 2nd joins us. Tuesday, 3rd through 6th will arrive for their first day, and Wednesday, 7th and 8th will join us. Thursday, we'll have all students, and Fridays will always be a distance learning only day. So there will be no students on campus on Fridays. Fridays will be a deep clean day so that custodians will be working to do a deep cleaning on every single classroom and common area. All Fridays will be distance learning days. And so starting after April 16th, Monday through Thursday, all in-person students will return. Fridays will always be a distance learning day. The schedule that you see in front of you goes over the INGRESS arrival, which Dr. Dominguez is going to talk a little bit about in more depth in a second. So I will just want you to take note of your child's grade level and what time their INGRESS is, what time their snack would be at school, and what time their egress is. And in a second, Dr. Dominguez will go into much more detail about what each of those INGRESS and egress times look like. And then the last thing that I'm going to share with you is that our Mindlabs schedule will remain mostly the same for your students. They will continue with their Mindlabs programs while once back on campus in person. The only difference will be if you have a 2nd grader, they will have their Mindlabs class on Monday morning. And if you have a 6th grader, they will have their Mindlabs class on Thursday afternoon. Again, that will be all back in person. That will remain in their stable cohorts, go to their Mindlabs class, and then return to their regular classroom teacher. Okay, I am going to pass it over to Dr. Dominguez, and she is going to go in depth a little bit more with INGRESS.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Dominguez. I'm the VAPA principal here at Feaster Charter School. And so this afternoon, I'll be sharing some information regarding our INGRESS and EGRESS. And I know that words may be unfamiliar, but essentially what INGRESS means is the ways in which students will be entering our campus. So from 8 o'clock, what you see on the screen here is that our INGRESS process, or when students enter into our school, it will begin from 8 o'clock to 8:30. And so this means that students can arrive anytime between that 30-minute time period. And then before they enter campus, we'll be doing health screenings for all students. And so what that means is all students will have their temperatures checked, and then we'll be asking them some health screening questions. And so the questions are very similar to what perhaps you have experienced when entering another establishment, and so we'll talk through where those locations are. I know that there are some questions in terms of if I have 2 children, can they be dropped off in the same area? And so we'll get into the details of that. But again, the INGRESS process will begin at 8 o'clock, and there will be a temperature check as well as health screening questions. And so on the next slide, what you see here are the 3 drop-off locations that we will be these health screening questions asked to students. And so the first INGRESS drop-off location is going to be at the front of the school. So we'll have 3 drop-off stations and then 2 walk-up stations. So you're welcome to drive up, or you're welcome to walk your child to school. Students are welcome to walk to school. We also will have another INGRESS location at the staff parking lot near the TK gate. And so that'll be right up front, just as it was shown in the video. And then the 3rd drop-off location will be on Jefferson Street, right around where the cul-de-sac is. So Jefferson Street is designated only for middle school students, and their INGRESS process begins slightly earlier at 7:45. So we will have 2 car drop-off stations and 1 walk-up station. And so what that means is we will begin, like I mentioned, the checking in of students and asking of health screening questions at 7:45. I did see that there was a question in terms of What if I have a younger child? What if my child's in 7th grade and I have a 1st grade student as well? And so it is fine to drop them off in that same location. However, we will not begin the ingress process for TK through 6th grade until 8 o'clock. So those students who are not middle school students, they will just need to wait patiently for 15 minutes while we begin the ingress process for our middle school students. Okay. So what you're seeing on the next slide is our egress. And so as I mentioned earlier, there are two new words that we are familiarizing ourselves with, which is ingress and egress. And egress is essentially the exit, how students are dismissed at the end of the day. And so this varies by grade level. And so we're going to walk through each grade level. And so what you're seeing here is how students are grouped. So students are grouped from TK to kinder. There's a 1st grade dismissal, 2nd, 3rd grade, 4th and 8th grade, and then there's also a YMCA student egress process as well, and excuse the typo there as well. And so we'll first start off with our TK egress, or again, how TK and kinder students will be exiting the campus. And so for both grade levels, TK and kinder, the egress or dismissal is at 11:45. So for TK students, they will be dismissed from the TK room, and we're asking that parents pick up students right by that front gate. It's very convenient, and again, it's in the video if you need to reference that as well. But it's right in that front gate, right by the staff parking lot. For kinder students, they also will be dismissed at 11:45, and they will be dismissed from the grass area right on Flower Street. So students.
Hi, this is Sarah.
Dr. Motsinger, would you mind muting?
Hi.
Thank you. So kinder students will be assigned an area on the grass area, and parents can pick up right from Flower Street, right on Flower Street, right in front of the school. Excuse me there. Okay. For 1st grade, it's very similar. Egress process. They will have designated areas on that grassy area on Flower Street, except their dismissal time is at 12:35. So they go an hour later than TK and kinder. So for 2nd and 3rd grade, they will be dismissed at 12:35 as well. And the egress process for that is students will be dismissed in 3 different groups. So the 3 different groups are going to be based on the areas in which they are exiting the school. So students who are exiting Jefferson Street will be dismissed. Then students who are exiting from the Front Street staff parking lot will be dismissed. And then lastly, students who are being dismissed or exiting the school from the front of the school will be dismissed. And so the whole point is that there's a staggered dismissal, again, to minimize the amount of students who are congregating outside. Along with that, teachers will support with after-school supervision to ensure that students are in fact leaving from the appropriate areas and are not staying on campus. So parents, we are really asking that there is a clear and communicated plan for what students are to do after their dismissal. So they will not be able to stay on campus, unfortunately. We will have to make sure that the entire campus is cleared of students, minus the students who are staying in our YMCA program. So with that, just to follow along with that, our 4th through 8th grade students will be dismissed at 12:45. So that's 10 minutes later than our 2nd through 3rd grade students. And very similar to our 2nd and 3rd grade students, they will be dismissed in 3 different groups, depending on the area in which they are exiting from. So again, Jefferson Street students will be dismissed first, and then front staff parking lot students will be dismissed, and then the front of the school students will be dismissed. Again, the intention is to support with having minimal amount of students congregating outside. Now, we will have our YMCA program available, or a distance learning support program. And just to provide a little bit of context with that, our YMCA program has been open since school closures, or at least this school year, to provide free childcare for those essential workers and families that need childcare. So that will continue. However, it will continue after students are dismissed from their class. So if they are in the YMCA program, then the expectation would be that they would join their teacher for distance learning in-person instruction. And after distance learning in-person instruction, they would then be dismissed to their YMCA class. And so the only piece that is notable for the egress with YMCA is that kinder students will be walked from their kinder classes to their YMCA, from their kinder class to their YMCA class. And part of the reason is because we know that for many of our kinder students, this is their first time in a school setting, and certainly their first time here at Feaster Charter School. So we want to make sure that they are safely, they are able to get safely from their classroom to the YMCA classroom. And so that in sum is our ingress and egress process. And of course, if you have questions, we'll be answering them towards the end of our presentation. I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Sleiman, and she'll be sharing some information regarding bathroom protocols.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to just be going over the protocols, and just please excuse I just caught there is a typo on this screen. So just so that you're aware, so our bathrooms are going to be regularly cleaned and monitored throughout the day. We do have a team that is going to be monitoring our bathrooms to ensure that the capacity in each of the bathrooms is followed. What we've done already is we have assigned every single classroom to a particular bathroom, so that way we know where students are supposed to be using the restroom. Each bathroom will be at capacity depending on the number of stalls that are in the actual bathroom. And so, like I said, we will have staff supervising to ensure that there isn't more students than there are bathroom stalls, and that there isn't students just congregating around the area. We understand how important that is. So again, sorry for some of the little typos here, but so we have, in terms of water bottles, snacks, and lunch, so just what we wanted to provide for you. So if you didn't have a chance to see the video yet or didn't catch it at the very beginning, we are encouraging every single student on campus to bring their own water bottles. The reason for that is because the sinks that are in the classroom normally will not be allowed to be used. As you can imagine, we don't want kids to put their mouths anywhere near the sink area, and so we are encouraging every single student to bring a water bottle. Ideally, if you could please put your child's name on the water bottle, that would be ideal. However, if a student does not bring a water bottle for whatever reason, we will have individual plastic cups for students to be able to fill up water from the sink area. And teachers will be writing in their students' names to ensure, again, that students are not sharing cups and are not sharing water bottles at all. And so in terms of snacks, and I have seen some questions go through about, can my student bring in their own snack? Absolutely, they can bring their own snack from home. However, know that we will be providing a snack and lunch on campus for our students that are here in person. Students will be receiving their snack at their designated snack time. And so it will actually be in one container. They will receive their snack and they will receive their lunch for later on that day. They're going to receive one non-perishable item, and then they will receive a hot item that we will encourage students to eat during their snack time, and then bring home their non-perishable item to eat later on for lunch. So again, in one container, they will receive their snack and lunch for that day. Lunch will not be on campus. We are dismissing students depending on the grade from either 11:45, 12:35, or 12:45, and students will be egressing the campus and they will be eating lunch at home. So school-wide cleaning, we know, is definitely one of the 4 W's, or one of the 4 pillars that we have here on campus. We will be regularly cleaning the restrooms and any public areas that they will be cleaned on a regular basis by our custodians. On Fridays, which is our distance learning day, is going to be designated as our deep cleaning day here on campus. And that will allow the custodians to deep clean every single classroom, so that we ensure, again, that we have a clean, friendly space for every single student upon their return on Monday. We are encouraging all of our staff and all of our students to make sure that they are hand washing, and just some of the recommendations for when they should wash their hands is upon entrance, after eating a snack, at set times within the school day, or after coughing or sneezing, or really at the teacher's discretion. We are going to, go over hand washing with students. The recommended guidelines right now is about 20 seconds. And so please help us out at home, encouraging your students to start practicing some of that, just whether it's singing the ABCs, that's about 20 seconds long, like it was covered in our video. But again, we will be encouraging students to make sure that they are sanitizing, hand washing, and we will be cleaning every single common area and classroom on a regular basis. We understand that some of your students may be receiving counseling and RSP services, and so just so that you are informed, RSP speech and counseling will remain virtual for the rest of this school year, and that's again so that we are not exposing our students to multiple staff members in one school day. In the event that a student does require in-person support, we will ensure that it is done with the CDC guidelines in mind. So I know many questions have come up about our YMCA Distance Learning Support Program. We are very proud to continue to partner with the YMCA program here at Feaster. And so just 2 things to note with the YMCA program. It will continue to offer the Distance Learning Support Program after in-person instruction concludes each day. And so just like Dr. Dominugez was mentioning, once we do an egress, students that will be continuing in the YMCA program then will be led to their classrooms. So they will have a different classroom for the remainder of the school day. YMCA will not be opening up for full after-school care as it has done in the past. And so again, we're continuing with the distance learning support program after students are egressed at either 11:35, 12:35, or 12:45, depending on your student's grade. But again, we will not have the after-school care like we have done in the past. It will be reserved for YMCA students. Another thing to note is that there will be no new signups that will be occurring for YMCA. This is just for the students that have been part of the YMCA distance learning program, and we are ensuring this week to contact you to ensure that you are still maintaining in the YMCA distance learning support program and that your student will be in in-person instruction, as that's what our program will transition to. All right, so technology. So our students will continue to have their iPads. The iPads will be going back and forth from school to home each day. And so just like our middle school students do, but now it will be for all of the students. We do recommend that students pack their iPad in their backpack at the end of each day and that they're not just carrying it in their hands. We do recommend that parents, you please check your students' iPads and make sure that they are fully charged. We know that the charge on the iPads do not last the entire day, especially with being on Microsoft Teams the whole day. We will have chargers and charging ports in every single classroom. However, it would be of great help if you can ensure that you plug in your student's iPad every single night, that becomes one of the routines that you set in order to set them up for success the next day at school. And again, in our tech stations, we will be checking to see that students do come with it fully charged. If not, we will provide chargers to them so that they can continue with their instruction in the classroom. All of our staff and all of our students are going to continue to wear a mask on campus, following social distancing rules and washing their hands as much as needed. Again, it is one of our 4 pillars for safety here on campus, and so every single staff member and student will be screened coming into campus every single morning. And so just other things to kind of keep in mind. You saw from the video, we have, state-of-the-art HEPA air filters in every single classroom. Those are already in every single, not only classroom, but also common areas and offices that ionize the air and help with continuing to follow health and safety guidelines. Again, in classes or around campus, students will maintain a recommended distance from each other and from their teacher. This is something that we know is going to be new to a lot of students, and so we will have plenty of staff around to make sure that every single student and staff member is following with the guidelines. And so again, just to prepare for a safe return, we are maintaining again the 4 pillars, one of them being physical distancing, increasing cleaning and hygiene, health monitoring, and contact tracing, which we will do and continue to work with jointly with the Chula Vista Elementary School District Security Manager. We have PPE and plenty of it on campus. Every single teacher will receive whatever it is that they need, whether that be a mask, wipes, cleaning solution, you name it, in their classrooms. We do have behavioral signage across the entire school, and we will maintain consistent communication with you and our stakeholders just to continue to ensure that there is a safe return to campus. We really, truly cannot wait to welcome back our students. It's been a whole year, and I cannot believe that we're saying that. It's been a whole year since we've seen our students on campus, and we are counting down the days until they are here. And so parents, thank you again for trusting in us with your students. We are making sure that everything is in place before their return. So we want to thank you for being with us. We do have many questions that have come into the chat, and so I will start fielding some of those questions to Dr. Dominguez and Dr. Motsinger. So just be patient with us as we go through some of these questions. So the first question that we have here, or set of questions, is going to be for Dr. Motsinger. So Dr. Motsinger, a couple questions have come in. One, what is the capacity in classrooms?
So the classroom capacity is 18. We've measured each classroom to have the desks 6 feet apart, and we are able to fit 18 students. In a couple of classrooms, we might be able to get up to 20, but we are filling them up to 18 students right now.
Great. And on that same note, can you speak a little bit about the hybrid learning in terms of how will teachers be able to monitor students both in person and also online?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've been working a lot this week, and our coaches have been helping the teachers and come onto campus to do some setups. The teachers will be, in essence, teaching in the similar capacity to how they have been doing from home, using their laptop cameras and their dot cams and their iPads and the TV screen. So the students at home will continue to have a similar model of teaching, and the students in the classroom will be live. They'll be live in the class while the teacher is continuing to teach using their Google Slides and using their dot cam and using the television. So the goal, and we didn't put the slide in here, and we can send it home to kind of give you a visual, is that the students that are at home will be part of the class as being part of the TV screen or one of the screens in the classroom, the computer screen or the television screen. And so they will all be together in the sense that the teacher will be able to see all of his or her students while they're teaching, and the students, whether they're at home, will get to see on the computer what the teacher is teaching, and the students in the classroom will get to see live what the teacher is doing. What some classroom teachers may do is they may pause at some points during the morning and give the students at home some asynchronous work to do while they meet with small groups in person, and they may schedule their distance learning students small groups in the afternoon after lunch, and that will be up to each individual teacher. And so they will let you know once they have their schedule finalized how they will be working with the distance learning students, if it will go beyond the morning time.
Great, and a couple more questions for you, Dr. Motsinger, before I turn it over to Dr. Dominguez. What if Chula Vista returns to the purple tier before we reopen?
So at this time, we are looking not at specifically Chula Vista, but we're looking at the county of San Diego. And so at this moment, we have been cleared to reopen, and so long as we reopen and get our students back on campus before reverting back to the purple tier, we'll be able to continue in that. If we do go back to the purple tier before our students are actually step foot on campus, we would have to work with the county on the plan and take guidance from them in terms of if we are able to reopen. But as soon as we start with students, as soon as they are back here for the first day, even if we revert back to the purple tier, we are allowed to remain open with our safety protocols in place.
Can you discuss a little bit more about what our dress code or uniform policy will be?
Yes, good question. So we will be very flexible for the end of the school year on uniforms. We certainly recognize that many of the kids have outgrown their uniforms, and it doesn't make sense to purchase new ones for just a couple months left in school. So uniforms will be optional. We also recognize that many families, it's easier to just get dressed in a uniform each morning, and you may have those already ready for your students. And so that is fine too. So we will be flexible for the remainder of the school year on uniforms. Of course, if students do not come in uniform, they would need to follow the dress code, which is in the our Feaster Charter Parent Handbook, and really they need to be dressed appropriately for school if they're not going to wear their uniforms. And we can send home a copy of the specific dress code for those students who choose not to wear their uniform. When we come back in July, we'll go back to enforcing the uniforms.
Great. Can you talk a little bit more about Mindlabs structure? So some parents are just worried that we are keeping with our traditional Mindlabs where they see 3 teachers within their rotation and are just worried about exposure. And so if you can just speak a little bit of how we've modified the Mindlabs program.
Yes, that's a great question. So for that reason, so that we continue to keep the stable cohorts, the students will not rotate to 3 different Mindlabs classes. So when they leave, if let's say they're a 2nd grade student, they're going to start on Monday morning with their Mindlabs teacher. And if, for example, their Mindlabs teacher for that week is science, they're going to stay in science for the whole time. And then they will move to their 2nd grade homeroom classroom teacher after science, so that they are only seeing a total of 2 adults. They'll do that for about 3 weeks. And then on the 3rd week, they would move to their next Mindlabs teacher. So, perhaps it's art. And so then they would spend the next 3 weeks with just their art teacher during Mindlabs time. So we have stopped the rotation of going to 3 different classes during Mindlabs, because we're really trying to keep those not only the students in stable cohorts, but only to have them seeing no more than 2 teachers during a school day.
Great, thank you. I'll turn it over to Dr. Dominguez for some questions. So Dr. Dominguez, we have several questions about INGRESS and EGRESS. So one, if you could please clarify, how will parents be able to coordinate with their students in terms of their egress zone? So are egress zones something that is assigned, or is that something that the parent and student will coordinate?
Yes, the parent and student will coordinate the egress, so the area in which students are being dismissed from. What we are anticipating is that students and families will leave depending on which gate is closest to their home. So, so there is flexibility with the areas in which students are able to be dismissed from, but that does need to be something that is a conversation between parent and student. And then the student would communicate that with the teacher, student or parent.
Great. So once students ingress on campus, where will they be going to?
Great question. So they will be going to their classroom. And so as students are coming on campus, what we will do for kindergarten students is we will that first week we will be walking them to their classrooms, since again this is their first time on at Feaster and on campus, and so from that point on the same process would apply, where as they're ingressing, all students will walk to their classrooms.
Great. The next question regarding egress are students who have older siblings, students who have older siblings on campus, are they allowed to wait for their siblings on campus until they are dismissed?
We unfortunately cannot have students wait on campus until they dismiss. And so I think one factor to consider is that our egress times differ depending on the grade. And so, for example, our kinder students and TK students, their egress time is at 11:45, and so all TK and kinder students need to be picked up at that time. They will not be able to wait on campus for their older siblings. They will need to be picked up at 11:45. Our first, second, and third grade students dismiss at 12:35. And so while we do recognize that that is 10 minutes before the older students, what we are going to encourage is that students walk towards the gate in which they would be dismissed from. We will have supervision for at least 15 minutes, but we will not be able to have any students on campus. They will need to egress through one of the 3 gates.
Okay, and so with that note, some parents have asked, can we drop off our student before the ingress times?
So we will not have supervision before the ingress times. We are starting right at 8 o'clock. And again, it's that 8 o'clock to 8:30 period. So you don't have to come right at 8 o'clock. You can come at 8:15, you can come at 8:20, anytime before that 8:30 period. But we will not have, our stations will not be ready to begin the ingress process until 8 o'clock.
Okay, and we have several questions about if backpacks are allowed, or can you just shed some light in terms of what items students can bring to school, and if their school materials will be going to and from school, or if they should just be kept at home and they'll receive a different set on campus?
So students can bring their backpacks. We actually encourage students to bring their own water bottle and snack if they wish to do so. We will be providing a snack and a warm lunch as well in one bag. In terms of the instructional materials, yes, they will need to bring those items back if they are currently working with those items in class. And so teachers will be able to let their students know which materials they need. So they will not be receiving a new set here on campus. They will need to bring what they have at home and bring it to school.
Great. And just for Dr. Motsinger, if you could speak a little bit more about the YMCA program. So just, I had mentioned that there is no new signups, but just parents want to know what the process will be for signing up for YMCA in the future. If there is any way that they can still submit their form to be considered for the YMCA program.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I know there's a huge need for after school care. Unfortunately, at this time, the YMCA is not accepting new applications for students to participate. We currently do have a wait list. So some of you who tried to sign up at the beginning of the school year back in September and didn't get in, we've kept a wait list. I think it has probably over 100 kids still on the wait list trying to get into the distance learning support program. And we're only housing right now roughly 50 students in the distance learning support program through YMCA. And so that is a separate organization from Feaster. We work with them, but they are running the program. And so we hope that when we come back in July, we'll revert back to a regular before school care and after school care program with the YMCA. But the way that it has been rolled out for this school year and the way the funding has been proportioned, the distance learning support program is the only program that will continue for this school year.
Great. And Dr. Motsinger, can you, some of our families want to know if students will still have access to PE and electives.
Yes, so students will still have access to PE and electives. Middle school students will have their regular PE schedule, and that is actually the main reason that their ingress is between 7:45 and 8 is they need, when they start PE, they need to start right at 8 o'clock. And so that is for our middle school students. For our elementary school students, they will have PE as part of their Mindlabs rotation still. They will, and same thing with electives in middle school. Electives in elementary will resume next school year.
Great. And a lot of parents are wondering how will they know whether their child is confirmed for in-person instruction?
So the best place to check on that to confirm is with your child's teacher. So your child's teacher has a master list of what every parent selected if you filled out the survey. If you did not fill out the survey, they have that indicated as well. We recognize many of you filled it out a while ago. I think we started sending the survey out back in October or November of last school year. And so if you want to change your mind, you still can do that. Just check with your child's teacher, send them a message. They will confirm what they have you recorded for, and they will also make a change if you would like to make a change. And so today, tomorrow would be the best day to do that, but your child's teacher has all of that information.
Great. And if you could, some parents just need a little bit more clarification about lunch not being on campus. If you can just talk through that a little bit more.
Yeah, so the lunch piece is a little tricky. We are not having students stay on campus for lunch. And the main reason for that is because of all of the intermixing that lunch usually creates. And so when we have lunch with all of the students, they normally all come to the cafeteria. They all sit at the tables, and that creates a lot of mixture of cohorts. So in order to reduce the cross-contamination of students in their stable cohorts, no students will be staying on campus to eat a full lunch. What we will be doing is giving them items to take home. So as Dr. Sleiman mentioned, every single day during their scheduled snack time, so either 9:45, 10, 10:15 or 10:30, they will receive from the school a package with a hot item, a non-perishable item, and some fruit. And the teachers will encourage them to eat the warm item while they're there, and bring home the non-perishable item. And so this was the best way that we could ensure that all students still had access to food, to free food, but we aren't able to serve it to them in a normal lunch setting. And I know that is a little confusing. And so if you need more clarification, please feel free to put it in the chat and I'll clarify a little bit more. But again, they will be receiving food to eat at school as a snack during snack time, and something to take home with them to eat later.
Great.
And I'm not sure if we covered it, Dr. Sleiman, but I do want to point out that if you are currently used to driving through and picking up food on Tuesdays, that will not continue at Feaster any longer, but we will send out a list of the schools where you could go if your child is not coming to in-person learning. If your child is staying in distance learning and you still want to pick up food, there will be local schools, Rosebank, Vista Square, all the schools near us will be continuing to do that. And so you will send the information about where you could go to pick up the food if your child is still in distance learning and needs to access food.
Great. And if you could talk a little bit more about what type of masks students should be using on campus. Can they only wear masks? Can they wear a face shield? Can they wear both? Just any clarifications for our community on masks.
Yes, so students, they do need to wear a mask, and they do need to wear a mask that covers fully their nose, their mouth, and their chin. And so a face shield would be acceptable if they had a mask on underneath it. And I know some of the kids like to wear the masks that kind of hang down. And if they do that, they would actually have to tuck it into their shirt to make sure that there was no airspace for, for anything to escape from. So they would need to wear the face mask tucked into the shirt if it was that long. I think they're called gator masks, maybe. That those would need to be tucked in. And if you want to wear a face shield, that's no problem, but a mask has to be underneath it.
Great. And then can you, as a last question for you, can you clarify whether parents are allowed on campus? Lots of our parents are used to walking their students to campus, to their classrooms. So if you could just clarify that piece for our parents.
Yeah, so unfortunately, one of the rules we have to stick to with the guidelines is that no parents can come on campus. So the only people permitted on school grounds will be employees and students. And so we fully recognize the challenge this is for our TK and our kinder kids who've never been here before. And really, our school has been remodeled. And so most of the students are going to have a little trouble finding their classrooms that first day. So we have been working, we have a huge team that is ready to help the kids get to their classrooms and know where to go that first day of school. And we will have a special process for our kinders. So as soon as they walk through that gate, we will get them right to where they need to be so they aren't wandering around and not knowing where to go. So we will definitely take care of that, but we cannot have any parents on campus.
Thank you. Dr. Dominguez, a couple of questions coming in from our dual immersion parents. And so they are wondering if the DI students will be alternating between their teachers or what will their schedule look like?
Great question. So your student's teacher will be communicating what the schedule looks like. And part of the reason is because of the Mindlabs, because on the days in which Mindlabs falls, it has thrown a little bit of a curveball into the schedules. And so each grade level from kinder through third grade has a slightly different schedule. So your students' teachers will be reaching out to you to share what the schedule is. Now, I will say that that what we are allowed to work with is that each stable cohort can see up to 4 stable teachers. And what that means is that as long as the cohort is not mixing with other students, and as long as the teachers are not mixing with other students, then we are allowed to have those students move from one room to another with proper disinfecting.
Great. And Dr. Dominguez, can you also clarify, so is Friday going to be a distance learning day every single Friday? And if so, will the schedule for students be the same in terms of their snack schedule and their start of the day and end of the day?
So the Fridays are reserved for distance learning, and the schedule will mimic what we currently have set up for Monday through Thursday. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for parents and also for teachers to not try and balance 3 or 4 different schedules. So yes, we will try to maintain the integrity of the schedule from Monday through Thursday, except it will be on Fridays are reserved for distance learning.
Great. And so just another question just here. So can a parent select some days to come in person and some days in distance learning if in case they have difficulty with transportation?
We're really asking parents to commit to one or the other. And so part of the reason is because for some classes, we have a wait list, and there are parents that want to bring their children to in-person instruction, but we've reached the capacity within that group. And so what we're asking is that if you are committing to in-person instruction, that you are committing to it fully and bring students each day to campus.
All right, great. So Dr. Motsinger, just a couple more questions for you over here. So some of our community members are just wondering if staff will be screened when they come in, and if you could shed light a little bit as to how Feaster staff has been vaccinated.
Yes, so all of our staff members will go through a similar screening process. So we have been practicing that since we returned, for those of us who have been back at school for the last couple months. So we have a health screening form that we fill out, and we can either take our temperature at school or we can take the temperature at home, similar to that of students. All educators have been eligible to receive their vaccinations for about the last month now. About 4 weeks ago, it was opened up to educators. And so I would say the majority of our staff has received at least their first vaccination. It is not a requirement that staff have a vaccination to return to work. And so at this time, we can't ask individual teachers if they have or have not received their vaccination to, respect their privacy. But I will tell you that most teachers have shared with us that they have received their vaccination. We're very excited to go get it. And if they did not, that is a personal choice of teachers. And at this time, there is not a requirement that they have to be vaccinated to return to work.
Okay, and on that same note, will students need or be provided COVID testing?
So there will be optional COVID testing. So one of the requirements to return to school in the red tier is to offer random COVID testing to students and to staff. And so we will be partnering with a couple of outside agencies, and as well as training our nurse and attendance health specialists to do the testing. It will be completely voluntary for both students and teachers or staff members if they would like to get tested. But one of the requirements is that you are offering testing to students and staff if you are still in the red tier.
And we have some parents that are wondering if they've selected in-person instruction and they then later change their minds. Can they return to distance learning?
Yes, so we certainly can accommodate a switch to distance learning because that would not require any capacity changes in the classroom. What we cannot do is go back and forth between distance learning and in-person, and distance learning and in-person, because as Dr. Dominguez was sharing before, we have a lot of classrooms that are filling up and the capacity is getting right up to that 18. So if you've selected in-person and you decide that you want to switch to distance learning, we can certainly do that. And then that change would need to be followed through the rest of the school year. So we certainly recognize that some parents might want to see what it's like and change their mind, and we'll have probably a 2-week period where it's open to make changes like that. And then we'll just work with you on a case-by-case basis. We do want everyone to be to feel successful and to feel safe in the environment. And so if we're beyond that 2-week time frame when we're allowing people to change, we'll certainly work with you.
All right, and just a couple questions. Parents are wondering how the school will be handling late arrivals, as well as students whose parents may be late to pick them up at the end of the day.
Yes, that's a great question. So we did a really small version of in-person instruction when we had our LPAC testing, and our families, those of you who brought your kids for LPAC testing, were outstanding with being on time, dropping kids off. We had the same ingress between 8 and 8:30 and picking up on time. And so we really, really, really are going to encourage you to please drop off on time and please pick up your students on time. We are not in a situation where we can have all the kids mixing in the auditorium to be supervised after school. And so, we will have some supervision after school for about 15 minutes, as Dr. Dominguez shared, to make sure that all the parents can get through the pickup. And then we will have to start calling families of students who are left, because we can't leave them outside by themselves unsupervised, and we can't put them in a classroom together to wait for parents to pick them up or hold them in the office as we have in the past. In terms of drop off, again, we're really hoping with that 30-minute window, we can get all students there between 8 and 8:30. Certainly we understand that some parents might have a doctor's appointment or some time of appointment where they might need to arrive later at 9, and they would just need to go to the office and ring the doorbell and go through their health screening there. But we are really, really encouraging you, please try and get your kids there between 8 and 8:30, and between 7:45 and 8 if they're a middle school student.
Great. And just a couple more questions. If students are feeling sick, can they be allowed to join their classroom through distance learning for that day that they're out?
Yeah, so if the child is sick, they certainly can participate with the class via distance learning. If they're going to be fully absent, then we would just need to call and excuse the absence with Melissa as you would on a normal day. If they're sick and still able to participate via distance learning, that would be no problem. We just need to communicate that with the classroom teacher so they make sure they know for that day the child won't be there.
All right, and we have a couple of parents wondering if teachers will still provide office hours or tutoring for students after they've been dismissed from campus.
Yes, so even though students are going home anywhere between 11:45 and 12:45, teachers will still have an opportunity for office hours. So after the students are dismissed, the teachers will actually be helping us with that supervision for 15 minutes. Then the teachers will go to lunch, and then after the teacher's lunch, they will have office hours for the remainder of the day. And so that would be an opportunity for them if you have any questions you need to talk to them about, or as I mentioned, some teachers might use that time to call some students for a small group, some of the distance learning students. That will vary by teacher, but they will be available for office hours until 2:45, and then they will have their prep time from 2:45 to 3:15.
Great. And a final question that I see right now is what does the school have planned in terms of promotions for 6th graders and 8th graders this school year?
Yes, so that is something that has been on our mind as well as planning the celebrations for our 6th graders and 8th graders. There was just guidelines actually released a couple of days ago for how we can coordinate promotion ceremonies. And so we are in the process, the district is in the process of reviewing those, and they will give us some guidance at the school level. And once we have that guidance, then we will be able to plan for our 6th and 8th graders. It's not likely that we will be going back to the big ceremonies that we're used to and under the big tent with everybody in one place. But we hope that we'll be able to do something that's between that and the Zoom promotions that we had last year, the Microsoft Teams promotion. So we are trying to be creative and find a way that we can do something that meets the guidelines and is really exciting for our students, but that does not break the social distancing and group gathering rules.
All right, one final question for you, and so that is in regards to students who currently have an IEP, what will their instruction look like during the school day?
So students who have IEPs will continue to receive their RSP services or their speech services from their RSP teacher or speech teacher. They will continue in a virtual setting. So the child will actually remain in the classroom. They'll move to a small group area with partitions, and they will take their iPad and they will receive their small group instruction from their service provider in the classroom in a virtual setting. If you have specific questions about that, or you want to speak a little bit more about what that will look like, then I would highly recommend you reach out to the RSP teacher so that they can talk you through exactly what their plan is. There are some opportunities and options for the RSP teacher to meet with students with IEPs in person, but that would need to be discussed with the RSP teacher. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our questions. We received 79 of them, and so thank you, parents, for just fielding your questions out to us. We are recording this, and we'll make sure that it is going to be posted for you if in case you came in a little bit late.
and you need to review some of the questions. And so thank you so much for being with us, and we cannot wait to greet our students in just a few more weeks.